All right, on to another development here, and this Iran deal. Now, to hear a lot of folks tell at the White House, it's looking dicey, and it's going to be rejected in both the House and the Senate, but not by a margin that would be able to override a presidential veto. Let's get the reaction to all of that from Republican Congressman Mike Pompeo on what happens now. First, to this Iran thing, and I want to talk to you about all these documents and everything else getting released, but on this Iran thing and the likelihood that you can have enough of members voting against this to override the president. What do you think?
Neil, thanks for having me on the show today. The more members of Congress learn about this deal, the more they reject it, whether it's the absolute unlikelihood of ever a single sanction snapping back, whether it's the capacity for Iran to continue to build its ballistic missile program, or if it's about these secret side deals. It's very clear that members of Congress are becoming more skeptical, not less, and so I'm optimistic that the American people will demand that we do the right thing and we reject this deal.
All right, now, I get a sense that after Nancy Pelosi's remarks yesterday that it's an exquisite deal, that kind of stuff, that she is trying to keep her own members in line, and the president personally imploring a number of other Democrats who might be on the fence to do the same, that if they just can keep those numbers down, it will deny both the House and the Senate to get those majorities. Have you heard any word among those Democrats that argument is winning?
There's no doubt the administration is trying to twist arms and keep the pressure on Democrats. But what I hear from them is they recognize this is not a partisan agreement. The Ayatollah chants death to America, not death to Republicans or Democrats. And they see the gaps in verification. They see these secret side deals that they've now been told that they can't have an opportunity to look at. And they see that this will lead to further Iranian malfeasance, not to putting Iran in a box. And they're beginning to understand that this isn't a good deal. And whatever their leadership tells them, they're going to try and do the right thing. I'm confident of that. All
right, Congressman, thank you very, very much. This was a point that Congressman echoed that Joe Lieberman was telling us just yesterday. Listen to this. What do you say?
I fear that it has much more risk in it for the United States, much more reward for Iran than they deserve. Since the agreement, July 14th, I would have thought that the Ayatollah, the foreign minister, Rouhani, would have gone quiet. They've doubled down in their fanaticism. They still shout death to America.
All right, it's the last part of that that's probably the most important. That is Joe Lieberman marveling at how it is the Iranians in the middle of this dicey, will it be accepted, will it not be accepted deal, are still doing all this stuff, still saying all of this stuff. To Ambassador, former Deputy Secretary of Defense Paul Wolfowitz. Paul, what do you make of that? That for a country that supposedly should be worried about this deal passing muster in Congress, it has a funny way of showing it.
Well, you know, it's what they're saying is consistent with what they do. 3 years ago, in July of 2011, the Treasury Department sanctioned 6 al-Qaeda operatives that were working in Iran with the cooperation of the Iranian government, providing what Treasury called a core pipeline for funds and fighters to go back and forth to Afghanistan. This is the country with which we're now doing a deal, and I think what the administration has done, they're dismantling sanctions, not only for now, but for the future. They really sandbagged the Congress. The Congress, they keep bragging, doesn't have any great alternative. That's because of the way this was negotiated. And
but they do have an alternative, right, Paul? They do
going to have limited options.
The alternative is nothing. Don't do anything. Scrap the deal and go back to the way things are, because this is worse. A lot of Republicans, a lot of Democrats have said their biggest fear is that we have no input, no power, no influence here, that no American inspectors can be included among those policing these nuclear facilities. And what's more, we just can't drop in on the Iranians. We have to call first and almost wait for an RSVP, because it could be up to 24 days before they are allowed access. That's a lot of time to hide stuff, right?
And it's a lot of flexibility to continue funding Hezbollah and funding terrorists and allowing al-Qaeda to operate in Iran. There are some very important documents that were captured when bin Laden was killed. They're nicknamed appropriately the Abbottabad documents. I've heard estimates ranging from 150,000 to 1 million of these documents. Only 150 have been released by the administration. And it's reported that within the ones that they have not released, there's very incriminating evidence about Iran's role in supporting al-Qaeda. I think Congress should demand that those be released. I agree with you, Congress has options, but much fewer options than if the administration hadn't given away so much ground already.
You know, while I have you here, and you don't mind my veering a little bit, we're still waiting. We're told now about an hour away from those latest batch of emails, hundreds of which could have compromised information or information that shouldn't have gotten out. And talk about Hillary Clinton's emails as Secretary of State. Forget about how they release them and how they redact them, black them out, try to get out the stuff that could be compromising or a threat to personnel still in dangerous areas. How do we go from 4 to potentially hundreds of pieces of classified information getting sent out on her personal email?
I guess it happens when you're extremely careless. Be very interesting to see whether there was any attention paid in all of the emails that were released, or the ones that have been deleted, if you can get to them, to what was going on in Libya after Gaddafi fell. One Libyan leader actually said the United States declared mission accomplished prematurely in Libya. It's a direct dig at what has been the administration line about what the mistake we made in Iraq.
Paul Wolfowitz, thank you very much. It's always good having you and your expertise. I do appreciate it. All right, now Paul was talking about these emails that are coming out within the hour, a little bit more, but they're going to be a little bit more than we thought at first. When you first heard the news that Hillary Clinton had these emails on her personal server, her personal computer, and was sending them back and forth to affected parties, with a lot of them not knowing that this stuff was going beyond her personal server. Remember, the talk was it was only 4 that were of that sensitive nature. We're getting word now that we're about an hour away from hearing maybe hundreds, potentially thousands. This is what they call a big uh-oh. We'll have more after this.